Okay, this is it. Before we jump in, I'm excited. I'm so excited. Before we jump in, I want to set a little context for why we're having this conversation. Marshall recently released a little earlier this year the 2026 Thinking. It was an ebook, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that. So that really got me going, man. I was like, I read it and then I highlighted it again, and then I went back over it yesterday, and I'm like, this is gold, okay? And I want to talk about what stood out for me. I just got to say, I love the fact that it was not a quick fix listicle. It was not a do these 5 things and your shop will grow, or
Mhm.
you'll sell more promo than the rest of the world. You really dove in deep, and I can't wait to unpack that. And one of my big takeaways was really about how your customers see you and why that's the starting line that determines almost everything. So,
Mhm.
this is going to be a great conversation. This is going to be about the identity of whether you're in print, promo, or apparel. This applies. And so today, I can't wait to unpack this, what all of this means with my good friend, Marshall Atkinson. Marshall, let's talk about it. How are you, my
Uh,
friend?
I'm doing awesome. And I can't wait to get into this. I'm like a racehorse in the gate at the Kentucky Derby, just waiting for the bell to go off, right?
Love that. Love that. Well, the
This,
bell is going off. So, Marshall, there could be a few people that don't know you or don't know what you
yeah.
do. So, who are you and what do you do?
Well, my name is Marshall Atkinson. I've been in the decorated apparel space since 1993. I've done a lot of stuff and worked for some companies, but right now I'm a business coach. So I help shops find clarity and make effective changes so they can be more profitable, they can be more effective, they can do the things that they want to do, but somehow there's this Gordian knot that's got them all crazy and they can't figure it out. And my job is to come in and help them with that, basically by asking lots of questions that they never thought of. Right? That's my role as a question asker. Okay.
Ah, professional
And
question asker. I
that's
love it.
me, right? And then we have lots of conversations, and through that we strategize and we find the way,
Love
And
it.
so that's kind of what I do. And if you're watching this and you have that problem, let's talk. So,
Listen to this combo, and then we'll make sure to have your information so people can
yep,
reach out. Also, you're co-founder of Shirt Lab, which is near and dear to my
yep,
heart. And we've known each other for the better part of, I want to say at least, we're coming up on about 10 years. I remember reaching out to you at one point saying, I'm kind of stuck,
right,
I'm kind of lost. You went through this. And then we
yeah.
both kind of connected again through another
Well,
really near and dear to our heart organization, the Promo Kitchen. And
yep.
so you were a chef, and I am
Mhm.
too. And so
And
anyway, let's
I
let's
think we really bonded with the Twitter on Thursday thing. What was it
yes, that's
called again?
right.
What was it
Uh,
called again?
it was Promo Chat.
Promo chat, yes, promo chat.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh God,
that was
yes.
the thing, and I couldn't wait for promo chat. That was
I
so
love that.
excited, and I was so bummed
It
when you
was.
retired that. So
I know. We had a good run. We went 4 years, so
yeah,
it was a
it was
lot though.
lots of fun. So
Okay, so back to our interview, back to the questions, back to your 2026 Thinking ebook. What's the official title? Because I call it Thinking, but I think you had
yeah,
a
it's
subtext.
2026 thinking how shops will win, stall, or fail in 2026. That's the full name.
Okay.
It's a
And so
mouthful. I just call it thinking also. So,
okay. Well, you know how we tend to do that. So
yeah.
most of the people that you interviewed, you basically just asked a series of questions. You did what you do. You asked great questions and you listened and you recorded those, and then you were sifting through all of those answers looking for patterns, or what
Yes.
was the okay.
So the whole genesis of this book was around Thanksgiving of last year. One of my coaching clients, we're just having a conversation on a call like you do, and they go, "Hey, what do you think next year is going to be like?"
Mm,
And that really, after the call, that really got me thinking because I know what I have my own personal opinion. What do I think everybody thinks?
yeah, what
Right?
about other people?
So I sent out, I mean, I've got a pretty good list of folks. I've been in it around. I sent out an email to 400 and something people and
Hmm.
said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. Would you like to participate? Here's sign up," right?
Hmm.
And my
Hmm.
goal was to get to 100. That was my goal. have 100 conversations, and I got 90 something people booked. And because of scheduling and holidays and stuff, I only
Sure.
ended up interviewing 88, right?
Uh,
That's the official number was 88.
right. Okay.
And I interviewed people mostly in the US, but several other countries. And most of these were conversations that were about 30 minutes. The longest I had was 90 minutes. And about three or four people, we just couldn't make the Zoom call work. So I just sent them the questions and they wrote me the answers back.
Okay. Okay. I
But I
just want to go on
asked
there.
everybody the same 10 questions,
Okay.
and then that was like priming the pump, and then all of the gold came from the follow-up from whatever they said, and which is, I think, the way I chose to do it was more difficult, but it had a bigger payoff because I could have just sent a survey and then you would have gotten A, B, or C, or maybe
Right.
a
Right.
six-word essay answer, and that would have just been like nothing, right?
Yeah.
Going
Well,
deep on something for 10 minutes about this thing or whatever they're talking
uh,
about was the best.
it,
And
it was amazing and it was awesome. And thank you for including me. I'm sure I had very little to add except maybe the clarity. I'm all in. I love those words. You use similar words that I do. And
mhm,
clarity before creation has kind of been both of our
yeah,
mantras lately.
right.
But I love the fact that you did go deep, and I'm so grateful that you did. And I hope that you'll be willing to share the link. I'm willing to share it, but I do want your permission first
Oh, yeah,
for
do it.
anybody that's
Share.
okay. And then I also want to go on the record and say I was not the guy that went 90 minutes. I know that's going to shock everybody, but I did not.
You're about an hour if
I
I
was mindful of the time, and we were approaching an hour. And I was like, "Oh crap, we've already gone too far. We better
yeah,
cut this off."
right.
And somewhere in there, I'm sure we talked about tacos, but we're not going to talk about tacos now. What I do want to zoom out for just a second, because the big impact that you made to me, and you expressed this when we had a fun drive time on our way over to the Long Beach Impression show, and we
Yep.
were bantering back and forth on this, and you introduced this thing called the relationship maturity model.
Right.
And I had not heard it framed that way. And it really hit me, not probably as hard as it hit you, because we had a deep discussion on this. You know, when you have 5.5 hours to kill, you end up talking a lot about things that are important. And this
Mhm.
was one of them. And it
Yeah.
isn't about it really for me, the way I understood it, it wasn't about how good your shop is or
Right.
how large your shop. And by the way, when I say shop, I do want everyone to know this conversation that Marshall had was primarily directed with apparel decorators in the apparel decoration industry. Doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to folks that are in promo. Doesn't mean that people that are in branded merch or print. This applies. So just because we might say shop does not mean we're only talking about people who decorate apparel. So that's a
Yeah.
little
Well,
caveat. Now,
to be clear, I also talk to promo folks, right?
yeah, there you go.
I talked to, and they're in the back of the book if you want to know who I talked to. I don't have to go through that, but
Right,
there
perfect.
were some major promo people who helped out with this also. So
Okay, and other business providers, other
yeah.
consultants, other
Yeah, there were
industry.
equipment manufacturers, there were ink
Yeah,
people, there were like t-shirt manufacturers that are actually making the shirt. I tried to get the whole perspective,
yeah,
not just from the decorator point of view, because I
love
thought
that.
it was important to get
Yeah,
the world that we're in, not just one point of view.
so
That
good.
was my goal with the book was to ask everybody that affects everything how they see it, right?
Hmm.
And what I learned, right, was that there was a lot of commonality in the thinking, but there was also these crazy tangents that went this way, and some of that was based on their role, some of that was based on their where they live, geography, right? Some of that was based on their political stripe, right? How they see the world through politics, right? So
Okay, right.
it was a very interesting discussion a lot of times. I tried to be really neutral. I just wanted to ask
Just the facts, man. Just the
just the
facts.
fact. And in the book, I share the 10 questions I asked. And then I also share my how I did follow-up questions, which are the basic, tell me more, right? That
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
Help me understand, tell me more, right? Why is that important? Those are the things I ask all the time. So
Okay, perfect. So Thank you for that context. So this is really my first question. It's a question that's framed around identity versus effort. It has
Right.
to do with this relationship maturity model. I want you to walk us through the model, but I want to make this one teeny point that for me, this wasn't about how good a shop or how good a business is. It was really how they are experiencing it, which I thought was
Mhm.
really insightful. So it's not just an effort thing. And so, but walk us through this model.
Yep.
Why did
So,
it make such an impact on you?
well, the relationship maturity model, I did not coin that term. That's actually a thing. You can Google it, right?
Okay.
And so kept hearing these different conversations about why they were struggling or why they were successful. And all the follow-up questions I asked, kind of like it was like an archaeological dig where I was removing the dirt and finding the dinosaur bones, right? About why these things were happening to these shops. And what became clear is that a lot of people are in, there's like 5 or 6 levels. They were stuck in level one, which is really just being transactional, right? Everything was about price. Everything was about just the not really helping, not really doing anything. They were just stuck at level one. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And they could have been in business for 20 years. They could have a whole bunch of autos. They could be a promo distributor, right? They're just transactional in nature, and everything is about just one thing, which is price, right? And
Mm-hmm.
frankly, that's Seth Godin, one of our heroes, right? He says, right, if the people who are all about price is only because they have nothing else to talk about,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
they don't review anything of anything else but just price. Okay. And so a lot of times that's where they struggle. And then I also talk to people, right, who were crystal clear. I mean, like with laser beam focus on their ideal customer, right?
Mm.
I talked to this one person who told me, unless they're spending $50,000 a month with me, I don't even want to talk to them, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
So, like, how's that for shoring up who you're going to talk to, right? And so it's just really looking at things for a different perspective. And what I learned more than anything was, and this is just a real quick takeaway, is
Sure.
that
Sure.
people who, the transactional folks or whatever, they're seen as vendors. And they struggle because they're a vendor. They're on the vendor list, they're as a vendor, and
Right.
they're replaceable, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Great.
doesn't matter if you've had a relationship or how good a work you do or whatever, you're only seen as a vendor, right? So it's basically, what have you done for me lately? And it doesn't take a whole lot for someone to go, that's, they were late on that by a day. I'm just going to go find somebody else, right?
Right.
Even though you've done work for them for 10 years. And then there's other folks I talk to, right, who work really super hard on being a partner. And the partners, right, are irreplaceable to their customer, right? Meaning they can't do business without this shop or this business or this promo distributor. They can't do anything without them.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
because they're so ingrained in everything. In fact, nothing even goes out for bid because they're helping pick out the color or manufacturing the blank or designing the thing or working on next year's line of whatnot, right?
Right.
They're
Right.
doing all of that with them, right? So there is no anything. And I talked to a couple shops that are so ingrained, they actually have an office in their customer's building.
Ooh.
And I want you to
That
imagine that level of
that's a
badassery,
partner.
right?
Yeah. That's
So
that took it
they're
to a
not
to an
shopping
eight.
when your apparel person has they're in your building, you're in, man.
Yeah. You
Okay.
pretty much locked that one down. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that when we look at this stuff, there are levels of where you are, and
Hmm.
some of these folks, they didn't have to be ginormous businesses to have this better
Mm.
relationship, right? Which
Great
is that
perspective.
you are a partner,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so that company or that organization or nonprofit or whatever can't function without you because you're so intertwined with everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And
love that.
so when we think about our own businesses, and if you're watching this, think about your business, right? Are you a partner or are you a vendor? And
Yeah.
if you're a vendor, what do you need to do to shift gears to become partner level? That's the big takeaway with that chapter.
Yeah, deep, deep stuff, good stuff. Was there anything above or better than a partner? Was there another? Can you level up
Well,
above being
I
a?
try to simplify, but there's folks like, you know, they're not buying blanks from Sanmar or S&S because they're manufacturing the shirts that they're
Right.
going to
Okay.
decorate,
Understood.
right? I
Understood.
talked to a shop in Canada that they're completely vertical. They make all of their stuff and they decorate it and they sell it.
That's
I
one way to
mean,
go. Yeah.
yeah, well, they is an amazing business, right? I've actually
Right.
been up there and visited them before, but
Very
so it's
cool.
like one of these things where you don't have to do things like everybody else,
Hmm.
right? And
I
so,
love that.
what are you going to do? How are you going to be different? And I think
Yep.
it's
Yep.
an amazing thing when you really kind of find that little thread and keep pulling it, and then you build something you know that's completely unlike anything that anybody's doing, and then that makes you special because
Oh yeah.
you're above what everybody else is doing.
Yep. You're back to Seth Godin. You became the
Yeah,
purple cow, and
yeah, exactly.
you can't unsee it once you see it. So
Yeah,
you really are rare and unique, and you've differentiated on all of that. So cool. I'm so glad that we've had that quick conversation.
yeah.
Really does set the frame. Follow up to that. Where do you think most shops think they are versus where they actually are?
I think a lot of people are stuck at being transactional,
Okay, yeah.
and you know,
They
uh,
like to think that they're partners, but they kind of
they're
haven't.
they yeah. Well, here's the thing: is they really feel, well, I've been in business for 20 years and I've done all this stuff, right? But
Uh-huh.
you know, in a drop of a hat, they'll lose a client.
Right.
Okay. And there's other, like there's one of the levels, right, is about people who were such great, they're fantastic at embroidery and they're fantastic at printing, but all they get is the really difficult stuff,
Hmm.
right? And one of the people I interviewed said to me that if you only get the difficult stuff, you don't really have a good relationship. You're basically somebody's insurance policy, and that isn't a good place to be as a business model.
Great insight. Yeah.
So yeah, and the book basically is just what people told me, and I'm just giving you their answers,
I
right?
know, but it's so insightful. It's so great.
Yeah,
And it's relevant and it's timely. And that's why I couldn't wait to have this
yeah.
discussion.
Hmm.
Okay. Thank you for that. Transitioning to question two, want to talk a little bit about what's actually working. I know
Hmm.
that in the book, you used the word tension. There was a lot of tension in what you wrote, how
Hmm.
people felt. These were their feelings. So we can't really argue with them.
Yeah,
It was their perspective, which is fair and fine. And we're also not judging them. But the tension and how people were feeling stuck, or maybe they felt like they had just been on this, treadmill, the rat race, the chase. Some people felt burned out, according to the quotes
yeah,
that I read. But I'm curious, there's always going to be that, no matter what the economic winds are blowing. There's always
yeah,
going to feel people feel stuck, people feel burned out. But I'd like to, let's look the other direction. I'm curious about where did you see some hope? Where did you see some momentum?
yeah.
What were some of the businesses doing that made you go, okay, this gal has got it figured out?
Well, the people that are really doing well, okay, are all about their customer and understanding their customer, and everything is about their customer. The people I think that struggle a little bit, it's all about them and they're just trying to sell them stuff,
Wow, let that
right?
land. Hold on. Let that land. Wow. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how obsessed are they, the winners, the ones that are crushing it, how obsessed are they on a scale of 1 to 10 with their customer? Are they a
They're let's just do Spinal Tap. They're at 11. Okay. And
okay, they turn it up to 11.
yeah,
Okay, I love that.
and to the point where they're obsessive about it, right?
Okay,
And this doesn't mean that they're a big company. I've talked to
perfect.
some shops that are, maybe 1 million or 2 million in revenue at the best, right? But they're doing really well, and don't. They're very. They understand exactly where they are and what they want and what they need, and they're very profitable. And They don't. They don't struggle like everybody,
They're
right?
intentional. They're intentional
They're
about
very
what they're.
intentional about
Yeah.
what they do, right? And this means they have an ideal customer in the back of their head. They know everything about them. They talk to them all the time. They go visit them. They're all about that relationship. They're building that relationship. They're all about being a partner, not a vendor, right? And they will do anything to make these people their number, just the number one, right?
Hmm.
And because people buy, you can think it's about numbers and metrics and all that stuff. People
Yeah.
buy on emotion, right? More than anything, right? So are you helping me succeed or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Solving my problem and
Solving my
eliminating
problems or not, right?
eliminate the friction for me, or are you
Yep.
just trying to sell me?
Yeah, and people are, they're using all the tools, right? They're doing, some people specialize in one particular decoration method. Some people are all about online stores. Some people are about programs and fulfillment. What I heard is the people who were really um, focused on their customers and giving their customers a better experience, giving them something they can't get from anybody else, they have no competition because they're doing things at a completely different level than just that guy on the corner that's just printing the shirts.
Yeah, love that. That's great distinction. Great answer. Thank you.
Mhm.
I also have to believe that they have shifted their thinking. And so it's a mindset and it's follow-up action, right? To build those key relationships.
Definitely. Right.
Um,
Yes. It's a lot of
okay,
effort. And,
it is a lot of effort.
but let me tell you, they've got processes. They know what they're doing. They have their way of whatever their way is, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they're always thinking about how we can make it better. And the other thing is they're doing a lot of adjusting. Um, and one of the most insightful things I learned as I was talking with these people, if you want to go into this, is that I think this industry has somewhat of an identity crisis where, and what I mean by that is we have long built our industry based on volume. The
Mm,
thinking is about volume, the equipment is about volume, the trade shows are about volume. If you look at the equipment, it's all about how many autos you have and all of that stuff.
right,
Okay.
right.
And I can tell you that your customers don't care about that at all. How many autos you
No,
have,
no,
they don't
they
care,
don't care.
right? What color is your auto? They don't
Don't
care, right?
care.
And what they want more than anything, right, is they want things now. They want things today. And what's been happening for quite a long time, and Mark Coudray, our buddy, has been talking about this for 10, 12 years now, right,
Years. Yeah.
is we're moving to, and we're here now, to the unit of one, right, is print on demand, the unit of one, right? And so we
Correct.
used to get, and I've done them, just gigantic orders, right? And now what we're not getting is those gigantic orders. What we're getting now is lots of smaller orders in a row
Yeah.
forever, right? And so when everything is built on volume, on big things, on skids of shirts and all of that stuff, and now suddenly it's about how do I do that when every order is only one shirt or two shirts? The math doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah. Flip the model.
Yeah,
Flip it.
and so what's happening is there's shops who have fully embraced that idea, right? And they've changed their business. They changed how they work. They changed the math. They're looking at their math, which is the thing this industry hates to do is the math, right? And they look at their math, they look at the data, they look at the metrics, they talk to their customers, they understand what's going on, and they're building things for them. And what's interesting is newer people are coming into this industry because they're not legacy, okay? And the
Sure.
new people aren't jaded by how we've always done it. right? Because I've got my
Ooh,
screen printer glasses on and everything
that's
has to
right.
be screen printing because I'm a
Back
screen
in
printer.
my day, Marshall, we used
Yeah,
to.
and so they're doing DTF transfers with a heat press in their basement or the kitchen, or some people aren't even doing any of the production, just like promo. They just outsource everything and they just make the money. Okay. And we're seeing more and more and more of that. Now, is screen printing going away? No, because we'll always have large orders, right? But what's
Sure.
happening is we're segmenting, you're seeing a lot of segmentation, right? So contract printers are getting more work and more volume, right? And the normal shop, average shop guy in the corner, right, is still trying to make the math work for how it used to be 5 years ago or whatever, right? And that math doesn't work anymore, which
That's
is
tough.
and then
That's tough.
also with supply chain and tariffs and all the other stuff, we've probably got 18 or 20% more price increase than last year, and some people haven't kept up with that, right? And so what happens is all your profit gets eaten away by all these little minnows. Everything, every time, something happens, there's a little chunk of that profit missing, right? And so what happens is shops end up working really super hard, and at the end of the year, that pile of money that used to be there isn't there. Their sales could be exactly the same, but what happens is they're not making the same money that it used to make because they're still trying to use the old math.
Those evil minions of minnows.
Yeah,
Those,
right. So what we
yeah,
need is to really understand how customers are buying and what's
yeah.
happening, and then we have to adjust. And if you, and I hate to say it, if you don't adjust, you're going to get left behind.
Well, you
And
had
the
to say it. You have to say it.
well, people don't want to hear that, and and they need to hear it. But the companies that have adjusted, right?
Mhm.
They're cleaning up, man.
Yeah, I love that. There's always a positive. There's always the other side of the stick. You pick
Hmm.
up that stick, and you have to, like you say, you have to. Where are you going to position yourself? Are you gonna be eyes wide open and do the math? And are you willing to change? And change is
Yeah,
really hard, as we all know. It's super
yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
And I love this discussion.